Do you see people on or trying to get on? Yes. Okay.
Let's go ahead and start streaming. Just start streaming? Are we streaming?
Yeah, we can start. Yeah, we can start the stream or whatever, but I won't start talking until Larry gives me a thumbs up or something that he sees people because Sam is getting people emailing him saying that they aren't seeing anything.
I'm getting, I see where, it says where 6 people are watching.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. I do apologize for the delay. We were having a few technical difficulties, but thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Affordable Housing Development Developer Information Session. This is going to be cycle 2 for our city-owned lots and gap financing. I am Chantel McClam. I'm Director of Neighborhood Services. And I am joined by my colleague, Samuel Hunter. He's the Assistant Director of Neighborhood Services, and John Kuros, who is the Housing Development Construction Supervisor. And we will be going through several things today. We're going to go ahead, since we're already delayed, I'm going to go ahead and get started. The agenda for today, we're going to discuss the city-owned lots gap financing process. We'll talk about the design guidelines and the neighborly software and the developer checklist. I will walk you through the scoring matrix. And then we'll talk about cycle 1 proposals, what we learned, the do's and the don'ts of submitting a proposal. Sam will go over the annual schedule and deadlines, and then we have a short video from PA, some environmental and energy efficient resources, and then we will leave some time for Q&A. You will be able to submit your questions in the chat box on YouTube, and we'll read them out loud so that everyone can hear the questions and they can also hear the answer to those questions. So I am going to go ahead. Samuel is going to be covering the city-owned lot process and the annual calendar and deadlines. John Kuros will go through your design guidelines and the neighborly software, developer checklist, and then I will talk you through what we learned from cycle 1 proposals and the scoring matrix, and then we will kick off that video from Piedmont Environmental Alliance. So I will go ahead and toss it over. Well, before I toss it over to Sam, I do want to talk about the purpose of this session. The purpose of the information session is to take a deeper dive into each section of our affordable housing development process. It's designed to assist prospective proposers with how to properly submit a responsive proposal. In other words, we won't be teaching you how to actually submit a proposal or develop a proposal, but we want to ensure that you include all of the proper documentation to ensure your proposal is responsive. And then to give you an opportunity to ask questions. You'll have an opportunity once we release the RFP to ask questions directly to us as well, but we want to make sure that if you have any questions about the information we provide you today, that you've got an opportunity to ask those questions. What we won't be covering, we will not be able to address proposal specific concerns. So if you submitted a proposal in cycle 1 and you had questions or concerns about that proposal or why it was deemed non-responsive, then that will be an offline discussion. You'll be able to email either myself, John, or Sam, or all three of us and ask those questions directly. Again, we cannot teach you how to create a proposal, and we can't teach you how to develop affordable housing. This is basically just to educate you on the process, what we learned cycle one, so we don't make those same mistakes, and to help you submit a responsive proposal. So now I will kick it over to Sam.
Thanks, Chantel. Good morning, everyone. I'm Samuel Hunter. I'm Assistant Director of Neighborhood Services here with the City of Winston-Salem. We thank you for tuning in and staying patient with us during this process. Like Chantel said, I will talk to you all about city-owned lots and gap financing process. Most of the city-owned lot requests that we typically get are for smaller scale single family development. A lot of the parcels that the city owns are zoned for residential single family. We do have some parcels of land that could suit some type of multifamily development. And I'll talk about those a little bit and how that request needs to come through as well. But the funding request can be for city owned lots and it can be for gap financing. So you can do both. Or if you already have your own permanent financing model and you don't need any gap financing, but you need some type of lot or you want to eliminate acquisition costs and you want to get a city owned lot, you can do that. So those are the combinations that you can use when doing a request to the city of Winston-Salem. It is important to make sure that you have some other source of financing associated with your proposal as well. And Chantel will talk about the scoring and how that leverage ratio comes into play when you're submitting your proposal. Just to note, everything that we offer comes with some type of restrictions and affordability period. So there are income restrictions associated with these. So for the single family homes, they cannot be sold to anyone that makes more than 80% of the area median income as the household area median income. And then there is a 15-year affordability period for home ownership opportunities. And if you would like to rent your product, that comes with a 30-year affordability period. Average project costs for these roughly range from 750,000 to 2 million, and the average units produced is around 5 to 10 units. The caveat to that is when you look through our affordable housing guidelines, there is a minimum request for city-owned lots, unless you are increasing the density of the lot. So, for example, if you're going to do single-family homes, and that's what your bread and butter is, you need to request at least 3 city-owned lots. We are trying to get quantity out of these proposals. There is a large housing gap here in Winston-Salem, so there is a minimum request amount that single-family developers must request from the city of Winston-Salem. If you are looking to do a duplex, a triplex, or even put some smaller scale multifamily projects on city-owned parcels, then that's fine. You can request one parcel, but you need to make sure that you are increasing the density of that parcel if it is zoned residential single family. And again, if you have any questions about that, you can put that in the chat, and I can make sure that I can address those questions as well. Let's talk about the gap financing model for city-owned land. The maximum request per housing unit is $35,000. No one can request more than $35,000 per unit. Now, just because that threshold is there does not mean you have to request the maximum amount of $35,000. We just had a previous cycle that just ended, and awards were selected in May. And some of the single family developers, their funding requests varied in size, and it depended on the model and the product that they were putting on the city-owned lot. So just because 35,000 is the maximum does not mean you have to request that maximum amount of assistance. So that's the single family structure. I do want to talk about if you want to request site control for low income housing tax credit projects. I know there's a few developers that are joining us or that will be watching this that have an interest in requesting site control for a low income housing tax credit process, or when NCHFA releases their pre-app with the QAP. If you'd like to do that, it is the same process. You need to make sure that you have everything fleshed out. So you need to know what your capital stack is going to look like, how you're going to secure permanent financing, in addition to if you're going to request gap financing. The thing to keep in mind is that it is still two separate processes. The process that you come through right now is only for the request of site control. And we'll talk about the calendar and then how that ties into the gap financing request. But specifically for the cycle that we will be administering next week, that'll run for roughly a month, that is only for site control. You need to specify what you would like to put on that site if you are requesting site control. And in your project description, talk to us or share a little information about how eliminating the acquisition cost can help decrease maybe the potential gap that you may have in your development proposal. So I just want to make that clear. Developers can request site control for low-income housing tax credit purposes, but they will not be awarded gap financing in this cycle. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us after the meeting, or you can put your question in the chat and we will address it towards the tail end. So that's enough for about that right now. I will turn it over to Mr. John Kuros.
Thank you, Samuel. And thank you, Chantel. Good morning to everyone. I'm going to go ahead and go over the affordable housing design guidelines. And I'm trying to bring up my screen. There we go. Here we go. All right, can everyone see that? Thank you. All right, basically, what we've done is that we have provided home builder and developer a guideline, which is exactly what this is. It's to find a balanced approach towards the infill lots that basically the builders will be hopefully getting approved to build on. And we break it down into several sections from A all the way to L. I'm going to go over this in kind of a quick form because what I'd like to do is spend more time on the actual application, which we've made a few changes, which we believe are to streamline the process and just provide a good culmination of all the information that we need. So again, the affordable housing design guidelines, the purpose is basically to provide a standard framework for clients utilizing our funding. The application and review prior to the loan approval for construction and rehabilitation of a new single-family home or multifamily units funded by the city. We're looking at, and this ties in with the application I just mentioned, is providing a site plan, full setbacks, floor plans, and including, which is very important, the street elevations to get a perspective on the type of house that you're all trying to design or provide to us. Again, I'm just going to kind of hit the hot spots here, but and I'll just go over each provision real quick. But the building location, obviously, it'll be on a city-owned lot. Pedestrian access, these are all things that anyone that has been building has run into before. We're just trying to make sure that we have basically, again, a checklist to provide a way to check what you're proposing on the city lots. The entrances, we definitely are all about the way the houses are going to line up with the existing neighborhood. We're not looking for cookie cutter, but we're looking for something that has a flow, something that falls in line within the other homes within any given neighborhood. As some examples here, you can see the one house, both units here on the left within this duplex have their own entrance, but all other building elements emulate a single family home. So it's that look, it's that perception. The house on the right, it's literally facing the side of the house is facing the street, curb elevation, and the entrances are on the side. That's not something that we would look favorably upon. Again, I'm bringing it up just to kind of hit some of the highlights here. I'm going to scroll down. A big one is on the windows. And again, it's a matter of trying to keep a flow, trying to make things look appealing, and trying to add value, visible value to the neighborhood or the location where you're planning on building your houses. What we certainly don't want to do, again, is have cookie cutter. That's definitely not something that we're looking for, but something again that flows within the elements of existing houses. And here's a good example on the different profiles on the front porches and the way the windows are lined up. It's something that will give you individuality, but will also create a flow. Porches, again, this is all keeping in line with basic construction standards, but by providing a visual here, as we have with the affordable housing design guidelines, it just gives you a quick check on the houses you are going to submit to us for consideration. Garages, this is a big one in the sense that they're not required. It's not a required building element. But if you so choose to provide an elevation with a garage, then that definitely needs to fall under what we're providing here as far as information, whether it's attached garage or detached, if the property is large enough to accommodate a detached garage. Again, keeping in mind the visual, that curb appeal. You can see the house on the left is showing a garage off the front elevation, but it flows with what the entire elevation of this house happens to be. In the opposite situation, we've got a garage that is literally sticking out into the street just about, and the main entrance is offset. This is not an appearance that would flow most likely with the rest of the houses on the street, and certainly not provide the look that we're trying to achieve in our neighborhoods. We're trying to provide just a good appeal and a good place to actually live. Vehicular access, pretty much standard with your driveways. This shows you all the potential options that you have. Again, roofs, it's keeping in line, making it all work and come together with what's existing and what is to be. Again, it's a lot of common sense, and it's a lot of issues that all builders have dealt with before. Again, we're just trying to provide soft barriers or guidelines to assist you in what you are planning on providing as the house that you're going to build in the application. This is definitely a good example here, building massing and scale. You can see how most of these houses, just by the roof style, they tend to blend in, and yet each one is a little bit different than the other. And then this particular lot, which if one is lucky enough to have a lot that is that wide, they went in and did a very low pitch roof, and it kind of doesn't flow as smoothly as you would like with the other houses. So again, these guidelines are basically to show you what we would like to see and what we would rather not have on our in our neighborhoods. Exterior materials, again, that is up to the builder and what you choose. But again, you can see the different combinations with brick facade. In some cases, it almost looks like it's a stone veneer. Anything that's going to provide that curb appeal, that is going to go a long, long way, and will also provide a stabilizing effect within our neighborhoods. as far as an eye-pleasing view of the new homes that will be built. A big one is, and most of you guys and gals have run into this before, and it has to do with utilities. We definitely don't want any kind of meter placement on the front elevations. The side elevation is somewhat acceptable because sometimes there just aren't any other choices. And definitely if the meter can be provided at the back, that would be the optimal scenario. And that pretty much wraps up our guidelines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through our neighborly software, which we've had a series of changes. And what I'm going to do is switch over to neighborly software. In case some of you haven't had the opportunity, we definitely recommend that you set up your information into Neighborly, because that is the only way that we can receive your applications. In this case, I have done a mock application for Construction USA, and basically you will enter your information, and the first thing that you will run into is your application. So the first one is the program disclaimer. Please, please, and please, we can't stress enough, put the time in to read through all the information on the application, because the more thorough the application, the better we can then determine which ones can move forward. Because if there's certain information that is not provided or skipped over, then it pretty much throws those applications out. And we would like everyone to have an opportunity to be approved. But again, read through them, check everything off. This is just basic standard information, which it's you're agreeing to the information that's being provided. Once you pass this, you save it and you move on to the next section, which is section A, general information. Again, it's all pretty standard. Project contact, project address. What we have done this year, or this cycle rather, is that for developers, since we're asking that you choose at a minimum 3 lots or more, to fill out an application for each of the lots that you're considering. What this does is it gives us full information for that specific lot, and it helps us to be able to process your application in a timely manner and more precisely, which is the most important. Again, we've added a new box to fill in, which is for the PIN number. If you know the ward, that's great, but mainly the most important thing is to insert the proper PIN number, and you can find that on the city's website on the GIS or the tax website, which has that information. As you scroll down on some of these pages, what you'll have is yes and no answers. In this case, you could click that yes, this is located within city limits, but there are others that will trigger a sub list of other questions which you would need to answer. I do want to add one thing. This application, and we thought this through pretty deeply, applies both to the builder of single-family homes and also to developers. So there is information in here which will just pertain to the multi-unit apartment complexes type developers. Has to do mainly with the light tech projects. And in this case, section 8A is just for that. So environmental reviews would be required and you would upload it. A9 is something that we've added new, and basically it's a development narrative, and this applies to both builder and developers. And what this does, it gives you the opportunity for you to put your project in the best possible light. Give us as much description as you can in a short 1 or 2 paragraph page or submittal, and this will be used to highlight your application, and depending on how descriptive you are, a lot of times this carries quite a bit of weight because it lets us know exactly how you see your project and the amenities and all things to be with your project. And again, we've given you the opportunity to be able to upload the file. Section B, developer information. Again, standard info, company or individual name, date of formation, federal tax ID number, emails, and names of the general partner or members. Again, here is a drop down of some of the information that we're asking for, which we've added new. In regards to the MBE or WBE certification, if you were to click yes on this, then you get a drop down. And if it is yes, then you'll be able to, at this particular point, upload that certification, and it'll go right into our documents, and we can have all this information right off the bat as soon as your application has been submitted. This is another one that's a drop down, but it doesn't, it actually, this question is asked in a different way on the next page. I just wanted to show you the difference. Let's go on to section C. Again, more standard information, ownership, entity information, project contact, managing members, addresses, emails, project grantor name, if that applies. And this is what I was referring to. Has a project's general partner, member, or any principal been flagged by HUD for violations? And if you were to click yes, then there's a drop down. And if obviously it's been resolved, you click yes, and then it lets you provide additional information on how it was resolved. I just want to show you some of these key components just so you'll be aware and exposed to them. Again, we're trying to obtain as much possible information about your projects so that when it comes time to go through the matrix, we've got everything we need and be able to determine whether the application moves on to the next phase after initial review. Section D, again, all standard information. Keep in mind, this isn't all for developers and it isn't all for builders. Apply the information that you have as you see fit, according to the way it's being asked on the application here. Section E, nonprofit. Excuse me. Will a nonprofit be involved? And I believe that this does have a drop down. And so it goes on to request additional information, which we would need in regards to that. The next section is site information. And again, project type, and there's a drop down where you can claim for it to be rehab or new construction. Type of building, walk-up, elevator, townhouses, single-family homes. Number, this would apply to both. Number of residential buildings. You could put here that it's, 3 lots, or it'll be 3 houses that we'll be looking at for your application or more. This would be more for the developers, number of non-residential buildings. So this would be, facilities, clubhouses, and things like that. Number of stories obviously would be for developers. The next one, F6, does the site location require rezoning? A simple yes or no. And this breakdown will apply for both. In other words, we want to know your houses, whether they're 2-bedroom, 1-bath, or 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and provide the square footage. And again, we have more information as far as the affordable units, the target AMIs, and the market rate. So for your builder, you'd want to fill in this information here. This would be more, and definitely the target AMI, that's important to have also for the builder. And the rest would apply to a multi-unit apartment building. Total number of units, percentage of affordable units, and number of accessible units. These are all things that we would need. One of the issues, or one of the points that we tried to accentuate in our first cycle was the importance of you, the builder developer, communicating with our planning department and expressing to them the lots that you are interested in and getting feedback, whether they're zoned properly for what you're intending to do, whether there's any kind of issues with any storm drainage or private storm easements. This will provide you with an insight on whether those lots are going to work for what you're planning on doing or building, and will give you a heads up, which will keep you from, for example, putting all this effort in, and then the lot that you wanted is not going to fit the size of house that you're requiring because of some of these encumbrances. Again, we have given you the opportunity to upload this file, but it is so crucially important that you provide this to us. We've made a notation here. It says if this documentation is not uploaded, this application will be rendered non-responsive, because not having that information completely, it takes all the information off its axis, and it would not work. Again, these are F12 is amenities. This would be more for your developer as far as having a multi-unit apartment building and complex, showing a community room, on-site laundry, so on and so forth. The next one is F13. Do you have site control? And Samuel alluded to that in his presentation. This one does have a drop down, and if you do have site control, then please provide us with the information. We've given you a way to easily upload that file. The next one is, and from that drop down, you'll have these other questions. It says, do you own or option? And then you can click on which one suits you or is the case. Does the project have multiple sites? And this one, in this case, continues to ask you more questions. Are they contiguous? Is there a plan? And this would be for developers for additional phases. So as you can see, you can click on what would be appropriate for your particular application. I hope that some of this time that I'm taking on this is especially for developers and builders that are coming around on cycle 2 for the first time, to give you a more in-depth insight to the application. Again, can't stress enough on how this application is truly the crux of what makes everything else function. The better the information, the better we can process and be able to move forward and determine whether the application will go to the next phase. This is important information. I will let you read it on your own. It has to do with budgets, and mainly it's for your developers in regards to larger complexes. But please read through everything so you can be aware. Documentation, we're looking for 2 bank references, elevations, floor plans, and site plans. Can't stress enough how important this is to have the best possible representation of the street elevation of your houses, obviously with floor plans and site plans if possible. But get that to us. Make sure you upload those files, because that is crucial information for us determining the process on these applications. Again, development budgets, operating expenses. Some of you will be possibly building to rent, and that would apply here. So again, read each one of these line items thoroughly. And let me back up. This next one says confirmation from Winston-Salem, Forsyth County Planning and Development Services. of initial site overview discussion. We're probably going to reword this just a little bit, just for better clarity, but we are going to provide, and I'll see if I can bring it up here, information that is from the planning department. They have, and some of you are familiar with this, it's planning sketch plan meetings. And this also, again, we're asking planning to provide information. This is a courtesy that they provide where if you have 3 or more lots that you're interested in, you can request a 30-minute session to have not only the individuals from planning, but also individuals from other departments, from utilities and so on, that could potentially give you heads up on the lots that you're interested in. This is crucial information. So the info that you would get from the planning sketch meetings, we would like for you to be able to upload it in the highlighted point here or line item that we've included. Again, that information from the sketch plan you can upload, and that will also be crucial information for us to have. The more legwork we do, all of us, you guys as well as us, going into the application, the better it'll be processed, the better we can compare apples to apples and be able to provide a full valued assessment of these applications. The other ones, basically resume, portfolio, previous projects. That's always important. Anything that you can provide to give us some kind of history on what you have built prior. That's again relevant information. At this point, basically, you would complete and continue once you've filled in all this information. And then your final application here or information would be to certified and click to electronically sign your application. And we certainly do appreciate your time and your interest in our program. From everything we're seeing, there's been a tremendous amount of interest, and I think this is something that is beneficial to all, to builders, developers, and the city of Winston-Salem, to better everyone's situation. So thank you for your time, and I will turn this back over to Chantel.
Thanks so much, John, and I'll go back to sharing my screen. Can you all see that okay? Okay, good. Okay, so now let's talk about how your proposals will be scored. So we have 2 teams, basically. We have an affordable housing evaluation team. This is a team that's made up of subject matter experts from our planning department, our utilities department, our sustainability department, from several different key departments within the city that actually look at each proposal, each item that you've uploaded, as John had gone through the neighborly software to tell you each of those pieces that you uploaded are very, very, very important, because we're looking at all of those documents and we're putting a numerical value on each one of those documents that you are providing. So that's what our affordable housing evaluation team does. But we also have another committee of citizens who live in this community and who are excited about affordable housing. So we have our Affordable Housing Coalition. So once that internal team evaluates each proposal, we send those proposals to them. They don't necessarily see the scores, but they are going to provide their feedback on how well they feel these projects will fit the communities and fit those streets, those areas that you're actually proposing to put affordable housing. So they give us their feedback in that manner so that you've got some qualitative scoring on there and some quantitative scoring and two different viewpoints on whether or not your project will fit the city of Winston-Salem. So as you can see here, this is how the points are broken down. We've got a development quality scoring matrix that is worth 35 points. And I'm going to break all of these down in greater detail in the next slide. And then we've got that leverage resources and financial feasibility that's worth 30 points. Your development and management team, that's when those resumes come into play. So we want to see the skills and experience of your entire team that you're going to have involved in your project. Your minority and women-owned business participation, that would receive 10 points. And then if there's any type of supportive services, normally we don't see this as much when it comes to the smaller scale single family homes, but if you are looking to build some type of duplex or triplex or even like a tiny home community where you're offering supportive services, that would be amazing. And so you receive an additional 10 points for supportive services in that area. So when breaking this down, when we're talking about development quality is probably, it gets so many points because it's the most intricate, because we've got several different key pieces going into this one score. So we are looking at, it is comprised of your location score, we say AMI unit score, but when it comes to single family homes, that's what AMI you are targeting. So if you're selling your single family home and you're just selling it at the affordable rate, the maximum affordable rate, that's going to be 80% AMI. And so that's how we would score. Your AMI unit score will be placed on it. If you perchance want to build rentals and you want to rent them for a lower, say between 30% and 50% AMI, you're going to get a higher score in this category because we know that our shortages fall within that 30% to 50% AMI in Winston-Salem. And so we are looking for folks to build more affordable housing that targets that AMI area. So in that case, that AMI unit score would be a little bit better. And then we're also looking at amenity score. I know when John was going through the neighborly software, you saw a lot of amenities that would not necessarily fit single family homes. So when we're looking at single family home amenities, we're looking at things, that's when your elevation comes into play. And that's why he said, make sure you provide us with the best elevation of what you intend to build. And so we're looking for amenities like garages, porches, good landscaping. This last cycle we had elevations where the homes had fireplaces. We're looking for energy efficient appliances. So those are the things we're looking for when it comes to single family homes, when it comes to determining your amenity score. So your location score, I saved that for last because it's extremely important and it basically has the higher weighted percentage when we put all of these things together. So the location score, we're looking at the parcels that you are picking, how close they are to not only amenities such as greenways and entertainment and parks, but more specifically, how close are they to necessities? We found out that transportation is a bigger and more needed requirement when it comes to the necessities. And so the closer you are to transportation, meaning a bus stop, a bus station, the closer you are to transportation, the better your location score is going to be. So when it comes to necessities, we're looking at transportation, hospitals, grocery stores, public safety. Those are the necessities that we're looking, and we're looking at your proximity, your parcel's proximity to those key things. And so all of those three things make up the development quality score, and that's why it's weighted higher at 35 percentage points. Then we start talking about your leverage resources, financial feasibility, meaning where are you getting the funding from in order to ensure that your project is successful? So what does your capital stack look like? Are you getting a loan from the bank? Are you using your own assets? Are you seeking full financial gap financing from the city? That is going to predict what your leverage and financial feasibility score comes out to be. And so you can see here, if your loan to project cost ratio is between 5 and 10%, you receive the maximum points here. When your development and management team, as I stated before, we're trying to see the experience you all have in building the projects that you are stating that you're building. Do you have, if you want to build a duplex or a triplex, do you have any experience in that field? If you want to bring some innovative housing to the city and bring a modular model or a tiny home community, as I stated before, do you have experience in other cities already doing this? We just want to know what your background is in that field so that we can ensure that you are scored appropriately in this area. And not just you, like I said, if you've got subcontractors that you are working with, if you've got a team of folks that you work with, put their resumes in there, because that helps your score better in this area if we know that you've got a team and your full team has 10 plus years of experience, and you've got a long list of where you've built homes, where you've built triplexes, duplexes, tiny home communities. We love to see all of that information, because that's what makes you get a better score in this area. When it comes to minority women and minority owned and women owned enterprises, we are looking in this category. Either you can be one yourself. If you are certified MWBE, then you would get the maximum points here, 10 points. We would just need you to include that certification that you are certified. If you are going to make a goodwill effort to use subcontractors who are minority or women owned, put that information in your application, your proposal, so that you are able to get the points there to say, yes, I'm going to use this type of business, and this is what percentage of the work is going to be done by a minority or woman-owned business. And like I stated before, for supportive services, it's not very common in this field, but we are absolutely open to it. So if you are looking at one of the larger parcels that Sam was speaking about, to provide housing on those parcels, and you are looking to provide some type of supportive services from a nonprofit agency, let us know what that looks like, what that plan looks like, and we would be able to give you the 10 additional points in that area. I know that's a lot of information, so if you all have questions now or questions about that, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat. We will wait to the end to answer those questions, but if you have any, please do go ahead and drop them in the chat. So let's talk now about what we learned from the Cycle 1 proposals. John mentioned a few of them as he was going through that neighborly software, because those are and we wanted him to highlight those things just so that we can continue to stress how very, very important it is to make sure that you are giving us as much information as possible. Too much, there's never too much information. There's too little information that could deem you non-responsive. But please, if you, when in doubt, upload it in Neighborly and we'll take a look at it. So the first thing I want to stress is please, please, please do not wait until the last minute to submit your proposal. We want you to at least, take, even if you're ready 2 weeks ahead, take that last week to just kind of look at your proposal to make sure that everything is in there and everything is provided. But don't wait to the last day, because we did receive a proposal at 1 minute past the deadline and we had to deem that proposal non-responsive. So if you are 30 seconds, because Neighborly will show us when the proposal actually was submitted, when it was received. So anything beyond, and I think the deadline, Sam is going to go over the deadline and the date and the times for that, but anything beyond that time, we will have to deem it non-responsive and it will not move on to the next stage. Also, again, we're going to continue to stress this. Every time, ensure all requested documents are provided and uploaded into Neighborly. If you're unsure, because we're going to have a question and answer period once we release the RFP, if you're unsure about something, whether or not a particular question or category fits you or fits your proposal, just shoot one of us an email and say, hey, I don't know if there's a question in Neighborly. I don't know if it pertains to me. I don't know if I should be uploading something. Can you tell me whether or not I need to do this? And we will gladly respond to you as quickly as possible to let you know. So to ensure, we want you all to be successful. We want you to bring more affordable housing to the city. So our goal is to make sure that this time around, we don't have to kick anything back non-responsive. As John said, those schedule a planning department sketch plans meeting. It's an informal setting. The caveat there is they do them every Friday mornings. They have a window set up Friday mornings. And so like I said, the caveat there is you have to schedule your meeting on the Monday prior to that Friday. And if you take a look at that letter, we're going to provide you a link to that letter. Read all the details on what you need to do to schedule a meeting. But like John said, they're 30-minute informal sessions. You can take your plan in there, say, hey, I want these parcels. I want to do this on it. Is it feasible? And they will give you an honest answer so that you don't do a lot of legwork and submit this proposal. And then you find out on the back end that the parcel is not buildable, or there's some type of, they're in a floodplain, or anything that could prevent you or be a barrier to being able to construct on that parcel. Which leads me to the next one. Do your due diligence as it relates to the parcel. Yes, we have the map book out there that has all of the parcels that the city owns that would be available to you, but I would recommend that you actually take a drive out to that parcel, take a look at it, make sure that you will be able to clear it appropriately. Make sure that your elevation fits the neighborhood, or if you see that the neighborhood may be blighted, because we did see that in this first cycle. There was a proposal submitted. The elevation was a split level elevation, and some of the parcels some of the homes already in the neighborhood were not. However, the goal with that elevation and those parcels being built upon was to uplift that community and to continue to see growth and development in that community, as we know that some of those blighted properties will probably be demolished. So if you go out there and you look and you say, hey, I can make a difference in this community on this street, then that would be great. But I just say, do your due diligence ahead of time and just take a look at what you're looking to build upon. And then lastly, make sure that you provide us with that project, that financial plan, so that we know that you are able to do exactly what you're stating that you can do. If you provided us with that plan and you provided us with your plan and sketch plan and you've done your due diligence, but we can't see how you're going to pay for the construction, then at the end of the day, the proposal is non-responsive. So there's key pieces. Look at what you're going to be evaluated on and ensure that those key pieces are included in your proposal, because we can't evaluate it if it's not there. And so I'm going to kick it back to Sam now to talk about the schedule and the deadlines.
Thanks, Chantel. That's a lot of helpful information that everybody just shared here. So hopefully everybody's paying attention. Also, this video will live on YouTube after we get done, so you will be able to go back and rewatch something if you missed something as well. And also, you can email us. Timeline for this specific cycle. Applications will open next Monday, June 23rd, tentatively scheduled for 12 p.m. on Monday. I will send out communication to the developer listserv. If you are on the developer listserv and you think someone else from your project team needs to be included on there, please reach out to me directly and say, hey, Samuel, can you include such and such on the listserv so I can make sure they get the same uniform communication. Applications will close August 1st, and they will close right around 5 p.m. on August 1st. Again, additional information will be sent out. After that, this team conducts the initial underwriting process. So we go through and make sure that you all have the required documentation, making sure that your application is responsive, and that we can move forward in the process. We try to turn that around very quick so people can know up front if they are moving forward in the process and making sure that we can go ahead and get everything in line. After we do the initial underwriting and evaluation process, then we will take it to the committee scoring team, the evaluation team. They will provide some type of quantitative score based off of the scoring matrix that Chantel just went over. So you can understand whatever they're scoring is the same information that was shared earlier. And they will have a quantitative score on there. And we'll also share that with you after the scoring is done. After the quantitative score is done by the evaluation, that's when we take it to the citizen board, also known as the Affordable Housing Coalition. They will conduct their qualitative review towards the tail end of September. I know this is a tight timeline, so really making sure that you have all that information in the initial application is very important. After the Affordable Housing Coalition, then that's we'll take it to General Government Committee, and then we will take the proposals to the City Council for staff recommendations. Just to note, the elected body has the final action on the proposals that staff recommends. Okay, so the evaluation team can score it. The Affordable Housing Coalition can provide the qualitative score. Staff can have a definitive recommendation, but the City Council makes the final action on what they would like to do. And we will have that completed by November. Everything will be done by November. Then we'll start getting into purchase and development agreements and any other type of meetings that we need to have on the back end in the wintertime. So December, January, we'll have those conversations on next steps after that. So, looks like a short timeline. It is a short timeline. So we really need to make sure that you get all the information to us and stay in communication with us during this process. And again, this is just for the city-owned lot cycle right now. Okay, so if you already have site control and you want to do a LIHTC development next year, this is not the time to come in unless you are requesting site control. This is only for people that are requesting city-owned lots. Okay. Chantel, there's some questions in the chat. Do we want to go ahead and read those off real quick before we show the video? Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, perfect. So we'll start with the first one. First one is, can one request gap financing plus a subsidy on land cost? I'll take a stab at this one and then I'll let you all add in. Your gap financing request needs to be all in one, so it needs to be encumbersome. It doesn't need to be two separate requests. So if you're requesting gap financing and you want to use it for vertical construction, that's fine, and you need it for acquisition as well, that needs to be included in your entire gap financing request. Okay, it doesn't need to be two separate requests. So whatever you request for gap financing should be for what you need it for. Does that make sense? You think, is that a fair?
Yeah, I would say, and I think what they may be asking, because we do get requests for city-owned lots for $1. So in essence, you could say, I want 5 city-owned parcels for $1 each, and then I also want to request the maximum amount of gap financing, which is $35,000 per single-family home. So I want the 5 lots for $1, but I also want the $35,000 per home. But we want you to keep in mind that this is a very competitive process. So what we saw during cycle one is that we had 3 or 4 lots that were being competed against. And so one of the proposals asked for the lots for $1, and another one of the proposals submitted a proposal stating that they would pay a certain amount of money for each one of the lots. So of course, the proposal that stated that they would pay the financial feasibility, their score was higher, so they ended up winning those lots. And so that's all we want you to keep in mind. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but you do have the capability to request those lots for either $1 or request them and say, I'm willing to pay this amount for those city lots.
Yeah, that's a great point. It is a very competitive process. So if you think you're not going to have any competition on some of the lots that you're requesting, I would really strongly consider and act like you will have some competition, just to make sure that you're trying to submit the most feasible proposal. The next question is, when will the list of available lots be published? There is a list of the lots that are available right now. We have updated the map book. That map book will go live Monday, June 23rd. And that will have all the lots that are currently available. And it'll have all the ones that were previously awarded. They will be hatched out, so they will no longer be available. So that'll be live Monday. And again, I'll send out some communication to the developer listserv with this information. The third question was, what is the deadline for the application? We just went through that. Applications will open June 23rd, and I will send out communication to the developer listserv. Fourth question, has the file size limitation for file uploads been fixed in Neighborly? I'm not aware of any file size upload. I think maybe the discrepancy was there are multiple line items where John went through in section G. Those need to be broken out. Those documents need to be broken out. So sometimes I know developers may submit one comprehensive proposal package, and that is too large of a file size to submit in there. Those need to be broken out for each line item that John referenced. That'll be in section G. And those are the only 4 we have right now.
Okay. Okay, those were good questions. And again, we're gonna, the last slide, this video is going to live on YouTube, as Samuel stated, and the last slide on here has our contact information on it. So feel free to email us if something comes up after this meeting. Feel free to email us, and we'll be happy to respond to any questions that you may have. And so I'm going to play, this is just a short video from Piedmont Environmental Alliance, just talking about some energy efficient ways and resources to help you in your building process. Uh-oh, I thought I was going to be, it's not playing. I think the links work. So the video itself won't play, but I'm just clicking on one of the links just so that you can see some of the initiatives that they have going on right now, Energize North Carolina. So if you want more information about how you can get some tax credits or some assistance when it comes to energy efficient, constructing your homes in an energy efficient way, then you can visit the site. The links are on the PowerPoint. And so that's just more resources, more information. And there's 2 links here to help you with that energy efficiency. I'm sorry that the video won't play, but those 2 links will provide you with the information that you need if you're looking to do some energy efficiency at in your single family homes. So that is all that we had for you all today. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions for us, our information is listed here. You can email all of us, one of us. We'll ensure that you receive a response and that you get the information you need prior to the deadline for the proposals. And we're looking forward to seeing what kind of great proposals. The first cycle was amazing, and so we're looking forward to this second cycle being even better. Sam and John, did you all have any final remarks?
I just wanted to wish every applicant much luck and thank you for your time. And again, much success in your applications and thank you.
Yeah. Ditto. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. The only thing I'll say is, again, it cannot be proposal specific. Okay, I can't stress that enough. So we can't talk about your design or anything. If you have any questions about the guidelines or how to navigate through the map book, we will gladly assist you through that. But it cannot be proposal specific. And we look forward to working with you.
With that, have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you again. Bye-bye.